You're listening to the Floyd Main Street Podcast. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a good week so far. I'm your host, Lucas Graham, back with you this week after a unexpected absence last week. But our guest host today, Chad Harris and Eric Branscombe, they more than filled the void last week. Fellas, I appreciate you stepping in for me. How y'all doing today?
Glad to do it. Doing great. Nice sunny day outside. It's Saturday the 31st, so getting ready to wind up one month and go into another.
Yep. Chad, how you doing today?
Doing good, man.
Good. Well, listen, we got a lot of headlines this week. We have a lot to unpack, and we're going to be talking about things involving the Board of Supervisors meeting is in headlines this week, talking a budget deep dive. But the number one headline this week, undoubtedly, is that Josiah Cockram, we've talked about him on the podcast before, a young man in our county that was unfortunately a part of a very terrible vehicle accident, spent a lot of time in the hospital. That boy came home.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. The fact that he's home, honestly, even this early, I think with the injuries and the type of wreck that happened, the fact that he's home now, it's a miracle. The fact he's even walking and talking is a miracle. But he got to come home, and we give him a small-town Floyd County welcome home.
That's always heartwarming to see that, when the one stoplight town, the center, the heart of the community.
It is, yep.
And how does that work out, Chad?
We've done that in the past over different things. Shout out really to Wendy Atkins. It was her idea. She reached out and said, hey, what do you guys think about this? It's an excellent idea. Let's do it. And her husband's on the fire department. She works at the sheriff's office. So we were able to put it together pretty quickly, and it turned out great. It was really nice to see a big part of the community come out for this.
To create a visual for our listeners who maybe weren't there or haven't experienced something like that, the town, we brought in sheriff's office employees, emergency vehicles, fire department. They set up fire trucks. We blocked off the stoplight intersection just to give him a welcome home, so that when he came through our stoplight in our town and he took that left, there was a small crowd there waiting to cheer him on. And I feel like we say it every week on the episode, every time that we record, about how special Floyd is and how much our community rallies. And this is just another example of that.
Makes you proud. Live in this county. 6
weeks ago, it was a miracle he was found in the first place, and then everybody coming together for all the different fundraisers that went on that I was at and Chad was at. Then that just continued on, and now finally for him coming home and getting that welcome from the whole community.
Yeah, and another aspect that I don't want to be lost on that is not only does the community come together, but the community, I find here in Floyd, comes together on a moment's notice. Think about it. We've all got plans, summer vacations and other things that are months and months ahead that are already planned. But when something like this, when tragedy strikes and people, they drop everything they're doing and they show up and we take care of our own. And like Chad said, I'm just so proud to be a Floyd citizen.
The neighborhood extends just beyond who lives right next to you.
Yeah.
It's everybody in the hometown, everybody that from Willis to Check, Indian Valley to Copper Hill.
That's right. Keeping it in the county here, though, but turning pages to a different topic here. I know there was a Board of Supervisors meeting since our last episode that had quite the attendance, and I know there was a request to talk about some budget stuff while we're on that topic. Chad, do you want to take away? I know that you're usually on top of all the stuff, Board of Supervisors. There was a lot of people there this week, weren't there?
Yeah, there was a few that turned out specifically for a road that they wanted to talk about getting paved. But we'll just kind of start out on this. I'll try to go through it in order. That way, if there's something you guys want to listen more to, you can go to their YouTube website and listen to that. So the meeting started out with a bill being questioned by Levi. It sounded like it ended up being a site supervision bill where they were paying site supervisors on a job site. And I believe it was the courthouse roof. So they got that squared away, and the meeting minutes were approved thereafter. There was a public hearing on employee bonuses. There has to be an ordinance set place for that, according to Steve Durbin, who spoke in regards to how that was basically brought to light. And they discussed having this ordinances versus, in the past, they've been able to give these bonuses without an ordinance. But Steve was saying that this process has been in place for a number of years, and if you vote to have this ordinance, then you don't have to have a public hearing every time you give out these bonuses.
What does it do? Set the parameters for how the bonus is awarded, or I'm not sure what that entails.
It sounds like it just makes it so that you don't have to have a public hearing.
Yeah, basically.
Well,
that's kind of easier to keep people from seeing what's going on. Just saying.
Yeah, and these are state bonuses too. So you got to remember, county employees are never state employees when it comes to pay raises. That's just the way it is. Nobody wants to claim us when there's money on the table.
Right.
But this did go to specifically social services for these bonuses. And there was questions from the board because there was some verbiage in there about giving performance-rated bonuses, and that was questioned. And so they did redraft the ordinance so that it puts everything has to be approved through the Board of Supervisors before any bonus can be issued. So the county administrator couldn't just give her employees a bonus because she felt that their performance was above average. So the only speaker during the public hearing was Paul Kitchen, who spoke in favor of that.
And he's the head of the electoral board, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. He's at about every meeting. So moving on to the actual board meeting, Dr. Patterson came in. He's the OMD for EMS services. He's the program developer and chief of staff at Lewis Gale Montgomery. He spoke on a number of things, and you can tell the guy is highly intelligent, and he really cares about his job. He takes his job very seriously. But he spoke on things like how the rescue is now mandated by the state to have a pharmacy. He spoke on rural areas and distances to the hospitals. He spoke on EMS skills, using skills to treat on scene instead of the grab-and-go technique that was used in the past. He touched on 822 transports this year have been conducted by our rescue squad.
822?
822.
Wow.
Yeah, according to him. So he gave Dustin, our EMS supervisor, accolades. He said he was the first one in the Western District to have his pharmacy up and running and approved. So kudos there.
Yeah.
He gave an overview on the hospital at 114 that was just built. And he spoke on diagnostics in the field with this program that he's come up with. And it's a tool sending out alerts and field activations to Lewis Gale on like heart attacks and strokes. Currently, Carillion doesn't participate in this, but it's a program called Pulsera. And the way I understand that is if you're out here in the field, let's say you drop over in the garden and rescue squad comes out and they're like, Eric, he's having a heart attack. They take an EKG. This automatically sends everything to Lewis Gale to where they're looking at your EKG before you're ever at the hospital. So when you get there, they know that they've got a patient coming in. He'll be here in 20 minutes. They're clearing the room out for you. They take you right in and get to work on you. It sounds like a really nice life-saving tool and a really good program.
It makes me think of the show Emergency. You know, watch that back in the day.
Back, 1970.
We need to send that EKG back to Rampart.
That's right.
Well, I noticed that Chad chose to use me as the one having the heart attack here. He's still holding a grudge about that monkey arms comment.
Yeah.
Well, you are the elder.
Then aren't you supposed to show some respect for your elders?
Not today.
Apparently not.
That is a good idea, though. I mean, having the hospital prepared so that they don't have to figure all that information out once you get there, I mean, that just increases the patient care and kind of alleviates the issue of transport times in a rural area like Floyd.
Yeah, and it was very interesting. I would urge everybody to go to that supervisor's meeting and listen to him discuss this. So they moved on to public comments, and several, and when I say several, it was more than three, spoke on VDOT road conditions and roads being in horrible shape, mostly in reference to Firehouse Road. It seemed like every neighbor on Firehouse Road came out to discuss their displeasure with the road conditions. So that spun up a pretty good conversation on paving, and Kalinda spoke on VDOT not paving and why. People don't understand it takes landowners' permissions for paving. So if your road is paved, let's say 3/4 of the way through and it's a gravel section and then back to a paved road, that mostly goes back on the landowners not giving that permission for that section of road to be paved. I guess VDOT or whomever has to have permissions from each landowner in order to pave the roads.
I've got a friend that lives on, when Firehouse begins the dirt portion, a little past Rivendell. That was the message that they were told too, is it's going to take everybody. There's a lot of houses on that dirt stretch too,
Yeah.
and from what I've gathered is it's a split vote. It is. I don't know what the solution is, but I do know that Firehouse, they're not wrong. There's some rough parts
Oh.
on that road, and if I had to travel that every day, I would be upset about it too.
Well, there's some holes in there that'll swallow you whole driving down there.
Yeah.
And here's a fun fact. So they have to conduct a traffic study, VDOT does, on how much traffic comes through that road in a day's time or a period of time. And if I understood this right, there has to be 50 cars per day before paving is taken in consideration.
I seem to remember when Cole's Knob went from being a dirt road to
Because
when
the
it
traffic
was
had
paved
increased.
because the traffic had increased significantly. When a lot more houses were being built along there.
Yeah.
I always heard that Floyd had a lot of dirt roads more than other places in the state. I don't know if that's factually accurate, but I think it's part of what adds a little bit of our small town appeal is having some of those dirt roads. But if those dirt roads are filled with potholes, then it's a little bit of a problem.
Well, I can tell you from the experience I've had in the courtroom when we have some of the people try to run from the deputies on those dirt roads, make it a little bit more interesting, more challenging than you have from on some of the paved roads.
yeah, for sure.
Goes back to driver's skill there. It takes the car out of the...
Well, heck, it goes
Equation.
back to the Dukes of Hazzard is what it goes back to.
Yeah. There's some good old boys.
Moving on, they touched on this tower project, and there's an easement that they're going to have to get on a piece of land out in Buffalo in order to put a tower up and have access to it. They moved on to new business, and they talked about some new shared drives that were named Middle Path Lane and Little Birch Lane were both approved.
It's not as weird as some of them that we've got. Batman Thumper comes to mind. Comes to mind as legendary.
Always one that when you talk to your friends or acquaintances that you meet that aren't from Floyd, there's a road we have called Batman Thumper.
Batman Thumper.
It's always a great talking point.
I spent a lot of time up there back in my young patrol days. So they set a public hearing on the subdivision ordinance to the last meeting in June. Did you want to touch on that, Eric? Or
There's a lot of people that kind of are getting the reassessment and the budget process kind of confused. And one of the issues that keeps coming up is how reassessment plays into the budget. And so the way it works is that the county is obligated every certain number of years. They go through and do a reassessment. The reassessment is basically performed by people that compare land values to other similar land values in the area. So they can bleed over from Floyd County into Carroll County or Patrick or et cetera, any of the surrounding villas. They're not going to compare it to values up and around Charlottesville or around Richmond. It's all going to be local. Even so, the reality is, that particularly after COVID, that prices around here have spiked. And that's largely because people wanting to move out of large urban areas. And the other fact is that a number of people moving here from out of state looking for a place.
Yeah.
and you know what's ironic is your tax money pays $250,000 a year for these assessors to go around and appraise your property and raise your taxes.
Right.
You're paying for that.
But here's the rub. It doesn't actually raise your taxes. The idea is that you get these new values come in, and then they have to go through this process where they say, like, okay, so we have to adjust the tax rate because it was at 67 cents per 100, and now they have to adjust it so that they don't have more than a 1% increase in revenue.
Okay.
So they can finagle up to maybe 1% of difference in revenue, but some people are going to actually see their taxes go down a little.
Okay. Because
they went from 67 cents per 100 to 44 cents per 100. Now, I would think most people are still going to see an increase,
right.
Because they're still aiming for a slight increase. But the idea is to keep the taxes the same, and this has implications beyond just the tax increase, because the assessment on your property, it affects all kinds of other things. It affects like what the banks are dealing with if you're trying to sell it, or if you're trying to get an equity line on your property. It's going to affect your insurance. Of course, now it's probably going to cause a lot of those rates to increase, and so you're going to end up paying otherwise. But the idea is that it's to reflect the reality of the situation of what houses are going for.
Right.
I guess look at the bright side, you're now worth more.
Yeah, exactly. We were saying around here, everybody's a millionaire now. Everybody in Floyd's a millionaire.
So that was the next on the list was the approval of the budget. They talked about some budget lines. There was some confusion with the school's budget and an SRO line item specifically, there was $144,000 that was getting circulated around, and this line item has been circulated around since 1998 or 1999.
That one line.
That one line item, and Linda DeVito, I think, was able to go in there and search through that particular budget and find that and figure that out. So kudos to her.
Yeah. Wow.
There was one other item that was questioned before they approved the budget, and that was Parks and Rec had asked for a third full-time position, and Levi had some heartburn about that. He didn't feel comfortable approving that full-time position until they could put some justification together to explain why they needed that particular position. And that's a $58,432 position.
Well, I'd have to say it's another thing that I'd received emails, people concerned about the pay raises, that there's some talk going around about the sharp pay raises that have happened over in county administration.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of that, but I do know that one of the things about the budget that a lot of people don't understand is that the budget for a lot of things in the county, there's a certain amount that comes from the state. So like from the sheriff's office, there's a certain amount that comes from the state per deputy for position. Now, it doesn't cover the whole thing by any stretch of the imagination, because we stretch that. We add in the school resource officer positions and things like that. The sheriff's office does a lot more. But for my office, we're almost entirely funded by the state. There's virtually nothing. So we're well into the black when it comes to the county, from what my victim witness person does and so forth, and the fines and so forth collected. We're in the black as far as for the county. And I think that you find like the clerk's offices, any of the constitutional offices like the Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer, a lot of that's going to come from the state. That's not really a county budget issue. It shows up in the county budget because the county is the pay-through. So the money comes from the state, and then it shows up, and it looks like in the budget, oh, there's X number amount going to these different departments. But in fact, the actual county revenue is a little different. And unfortunately, that's kind of lost in the total numbers that get pushed out there.
And let me clarify, just that $58,000, that's not the starting pay for that position. That $58,000 includes your FICA and your state benefits and all that combined together. So you're probably only talking at like a $40,000 position, and then you add the other $18,000 that covers your other benefits package.
That's right, actually, because you have to figure all that in on top of the benefits and the other payments.
One thing Kalinda brought up, and she asked for, if you look at the budget, it'll show like Commonwealth Attorney makes this amount, and then they may lump your other employees in one line. So it'll say secretaries times 3, let's say, and it'll lump their salary in this one position.
Right.
To my knowledge, it's always been public knowledge on everybody's salary. If you're a county employee, your salary's public knowledge. So Kalinda had asked that these salaries be itemized and that they weren't lumped like that. So that if you had 3 secretaries, you know, it would show one secretary at this salary, one secretary at this salary, and so on.
Yeah, I don't know if that's usual or not, because the state has it itemized. You can go on and see exactly what the pay is for everybody in this office if you know where to look. That's always the problem with the state, is to navigate all their stuff. But you can see what the, administrative, professional 1, attorney 1, attorney 3, et cetera. There are different things that are at the office. But it'd be nice to have that broken down, particularly at the county level where people want to see that. And we've talked about before about being involved in the local government. It's understanding what's going on. That there's a lot of that goes on in there that's simply not explained. It just kind of happens, and people are left scratching their heads and wondering, why is this?
And to add what you're saying and what Kalinda had requested, Linda Millsaps brought up that there had been several FOIA requests for these people's salaries. So if it were really public knowledge for you to be able to go online and pull these salaries up that easily, I don't think there would be FOIA requests sent in. It would alleviate that.
Right. For the state positions, they don't list them by person. They list them by the title. And they also don't list like all the extra thing that you get for a number of years of service. So you have someone that's been in that position for 1 year, they don't get the plus 20 years, whatever they've been in, that there's additions to that aren't shown in the basic budget that's handled somewhere else in the budget. And I don't know how you'd look that up.
So the budget was passed. It was 4-1, Kalinda being the only no. Then they went into closed session for a little while. It looked like about 24 minutes. They come back out. There was a question brought up about bear boxes at Terry's Fork. So the green boxes at Terry's Fork in that area, I assume, were spring-loaded. And they were asking if, hey, does this make a difference at all? In which the county administrator replied that they found out that bears are just as smart as humans. And the answer to that was no. Makes you curious to know out in like Tennessee and Gatlinburg, they have these similar type green boxes, how, if they're having the same problems that we are,
Well, I know that the bear population has really exploded, but
Yeah.
We kind of come into a conundrum. If you take away the green boxes, there's no place to dump the trash. If there's no place to dump the trash, problem is that a lot of people are going to still dump it anyway. And then you're left with a pile of trash, and the bear are just going to go through that even more easily than they did through the boxes.
That's true. So that led them into telling stories about years gone by of Joe Terman when he was writing people for illegally dumping, and they got into some story time there, and then it went into buffering. So the last 5 minutes, I wasn't able to hear what was going on in the ending of the meeting, but that pretty much wraps it up.
So it sounds like there's a lot going on with that. A lot of people concerned.
Yeah, several different topics and a lot of stuff going on. Again, we just encourage you to be involved, be in the know with your local government and everything that's going on, your community, and you owe it to yourself to be informative of those issues. We're going to change gears, though. Let's talk about something a little lighter. Does that sound good?
Okay, this the Vacation Bible School?
Yeah,
okay.
We live in the heart of the Bible Belt, which means we have an entire segment just on Vacation Bible Schools to break down.
Now, Lucas, you have a new baby. Just so you don't have to worry about this, but I have lived through the time when the kids come in from school and you're looking for something to do for the summer, and Vacation Bible School, it's a necessity for the summer. You got to have some place for the kids to go, because I've had times when I've had to bring the kids by the office, and that is not the best working environment, and it's not good for the kids either. So
what you're saying is, as a parent, you look forward to like summer camps and Bible schools and those types of things just to take a breath.
More than you will ever know.
That's funny. I do want to say, too, that for any churches members that are listening, if your church is having a Vacation Bible School that we don't touch on, if we, I feel pretty confident that the list that we're about to go through here, there might be
I'm sure we missed
some
them
missing them.
because they are everywhere. But the problem I always had was trying to find the information on them all, because some things are put out there on Facebook. Sometimes you find them, sometimes you can't. That's the problem with Facebook, that you can't always find everything.
Yeah.
And maybe you drive by the churches and sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't when this is going on. But here's kind of a rundown.
Okay.
Let's lead off with Topeka Christian Church. Their Vacation Bible School is June 1st through the 3rd. It goes from 6:30 in the evening to 8:45.
Okay.
Okay, so it's an evening Bible school. They provide dinner, and they cater to ages 3 through 5th grade. That's how they've defined that. Okay. The next we've got is Floyd Baptist, has its Vacation Bible School from June 9th to the 11th. The Vacation Bible Schools are going toward this a lot more in the evenings. We're seeing a lot more of that. They're doing theirs from 6:30 to 8:30. There wasn't a word on whether or not they had a meal included, but my guess is that there's something. They go from pre-kindergarten 3 through 7th grade. All right, Willis Full Gospel Church. They have a Vacation Bible School. It's listed as on June 7th, and that is going to be an all-day-long thing. That is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a meal at the end. Grace Baptist Church is doing Vacation Bible School from June 22nd to June 26th. That is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with dinner at 5. So apparently they're having dinner ahead of time. Theirs is a little bit longer than some of the others, but again in the evening. And on Friday the 27th, they have a family night. That's for everyone to come in, parents included, from 6 to 8 p.m. Floyd Methodist Church, right out here on Main Street, that is from June 18th and June 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. And the last one I found was the Pleasant Valley Brethren Church. That is from June 24th to June 28th. and that's starting at 5 p.m. I don't have any other details from that. And let me tell you something. I am sure there are others out there.
Yeah.
That's a starting point for Vacation Bible School.
And I'm sure there's going to be a lot into the month of July, and some even I've seen in August, right before school came back.
We start pretty early with schools.
Yeah, we do. So if there's any more that you know about, if you're a member of a church that didn't get listed today and you're having a Vacation Bible School, by all means, please let us know about it.
Let us know, and I'd be glad to put that out there because I know from experience that's vital information as a parent.
Let's not discredit the parents here. It's a good little place to drop the kids off for a little bit, get a couple-hour break, get them fed, come back. This is a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
No, but I do have fond memories of going to Vacation Bible School as a kid and the fun, meeting friends there. And
same here.
It's a good thing for kids. It gets them out, like you said, in the summertime when those months are going by and you kind of getting a little boredom setting in. It's either go to the office with dad or go to Vacation Bible School. I think they're going to choose VBS. But anyway, we're going to turn the page again. Let's talk about some events going on in the county this week and coming up.
Don't forget, hey, we still have sports.
That's right.
The regular season's wrapped up, but we're into the postseason play.
Yeah.
And no, I don't have a whole lot to report, but I can tell you that Floyd County once again is burning it up. Things are going really good. Baseball is still going on. The high school baseball team had a win against Nelson County and beat them 5-2, and so they will be advancing in the postseason. Unfortunately, the softball team fell to the Chatham Cavaliers 8-2. They had defeated them in the regular season, but unfortunately came up short in 8-2 after having an astounding season. Mm-hmm. So hats off to the Lady Buffs with that. They did a great job.
Yeah.
That's why you play the game, because you have out there that's, you're going to have a team that has a good day. I don't have all the specifics on some of these because not everything was reported in detail, but we do have the girls tennis team. They have noted as the regional champs. They've won the regional championship for the Three River District, but they're not alone. The boys tennis team, they're also the regional champs. Remember, we were talking about that they were having such a fantastic season. Well, they've continued that into the regional champs, and so we'll see if they keep on going past that. So we'll be keeping an eye on to see where they go from regionals if they go to state.
I don't think there's a state championship in tennis in Floyd's history that I know of. Definitely not confident in that answer. But
I'm not sure. I know they've had some really good teams in the past.
they have, yeah. I know Coach Neff was always there growing up, and he was a very disciplined coach. He had some fantastic tennis teams.
Wouldn't surprise me if they don't already
and
have
if there are people
one under
listening,
their
if you were
belt.
on those teams, I apologize for not remembering, but I think it'd be awesome. Sounds like this is a year that we could really make a run in tennis.
Well, and that's not alone. I mean, both the boys track team won regionals. They're the regionals champ, and the girls track team is the runner-up at regionals. So I think you'll also have some further state action for both of those teams. I know that the soccer team, they have a postseason game in Glenvar this coming Monday, so we'll see how they do. But I know Glenvar is going to be a tough game for them. They've got a very good soccer team this season. So we've got postseason games going on. We got a number of teams advancing, and so I thought we'd be wrapped up. But it looks like we got things continuing on for all these teams, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, when you're playing into these summer months in high school sports, that's a good thing. I mean, you're making a deep postseason run. Got a little ahead of myself there. I was ready to jump to events, but that was really important to cover because we've got some, like you said, it's not just one, it's multiple teams that are making some postseason runs. So hats off to the Buffaloes and Lady Buffaloes out there. Now we could probably talk about some events going on in the county.
I know Chad's got one particular that is near and dear to him.
Yeah, go ahead, Chad.
Let me go ahead and get that one out there just so we don't forget about it. So during the month of June, the Floyd County Sheriff's Office has partnershiped up with Plenty to do a food drive. And that's something that's very important to me, not only because I work at the sheriff's office, but I also help out with Plenty. Once I've gotten involved with Plenty, I realized the need for this program. And they advertise that they service 11% of this community. So if you think about that, that's at least 1 out of every 10 people you know are getting food and getting their food insecurities through Plenty. Last year, they provided over 6,000 pounds of food weekly to local families. So Plenty's really out there doing the good work.
We're talking 1,600 people. You know, if you're assuming we're roughly a county of 15,000, I mean, that's a lot of mouths to feed. That's an awesome thing.
And I've been told that 11% is just what they advertise. It's likely higher than that.
Wow.
moving forward from the 1st of June to the end of June, anybody that wishes to participate is urged to bring in canned food to the sheriff's office. We've got 2 bins set up in our dispatch office that you can drop that food off at. They request things like canned food, pasta, peanut butter, things that you could necessarily make a meal off of, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or can of soup.
Right.
Those types of things are more helpful than your ring dings and your ho-hos. They particularly focus on more
Ring
of a
dings?
healthier.
Ring dings?
They focus
Ring dings?
more on a healthier food than snacks and things of that nature. So, yeah, if you'd like to participate in that, bring some canned food. We're glad to take it and glad to help plenty out in this food drive.
Unless you want ring dings.
Then you're screwed.
If you're interested in volunteering, just give Chad a ring ding.
That's right.
Well, or banana.
Oh, man, that's funny. Well, Eric, what you got going on over here in the county? Tell people about.
I'm going to let you handle that one.
Okay, so this was from the Floyd Rotary, made a post about the 6th annual dog show at the Warren Lineberry Park. I will admit that that's the first time that I knew that Floyd was having a dog show.
You didn't know that?
It took me 5 years, apparently, to know this.
I didn't either.
Now, just wait 1 minute. No, you did not know that Tyson, our courthouse dog, won like the best purebred show last year.
No kidding.
I want to
How
see
about-
some paperwork on that.
I've got the little ribbon. It's right over there. Little blue ribbon.
He's purebred taking a nap right now
Well,
as we
yeah.
record
I mean,
this
he's-
episode.
He's kind of bored with us sitting around talking.
I think it's a wonderful idea and a wonderful event.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Look forward to participate this year.
Oh, it's great fun. I mean, what I love are all the different categories because you've got the best costume, the best trick, the look-alike contest.
This is going to be on Sunday, June 8th, about 1 p.m., again at the Warren Lineberry Park here in town. It says that all dogs must be on a leash and up to date on all their vaccinations. $5 entry per class, ribbons given for each event. And some of those categories you were talking about, Eric, most excited dog. I'm pretty sure I'd have a contender for that one sitting at home who's going to display that as soon as I get back. The best coat, best treat catcher. I've got 2 that will definitely not win that. Best trick, like you said, cutest puppy under 1 year, the best eyes, the best mixed breed, best purebred, best costume, and the best child handler under the age of 12. And a dog that Judge would most like to take home. I think that's really cool. Like I said, it's sponsored by the Rotary Club of Floyd. I'm trying to look and see about anything about any proceeds or if it just goes to the Rotary Club, but that's a really cool thing.
The Rotary Club raises a lot for charity, and
Okay.
I think one of the things that they do is they do the backpack program for kids for the schools.
Okay, I
They
didn't know
do
that.
these backpacks. Kelly Weeks in our office, that she's very active in the Rotary, and I know that's one of their big fundraisers for that.
They do the chili cook-off.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do a number of things.
Yeah. Okay, good deal. So you got a pooch that would match any of those categories and be a potential winner, even if not, even if you just want to come out and bring your dog, or even if you don't have any or don't want to bring yours.
Vote for Chad's dog. I think it's going to be the look-alike contest. He's going to do a good job with that.
No, I'm going for best coat. I've got a leather coat picked out for my dog.
There you go. Just in time for June.
Yeah, that's it. What's going on here at the country store coming up?
You know, one of the things that we're going to try to swing more into in the summer and the warm weather,
Yeah.
the music scene in Floyd. And
Yeah.
if people aren't aware of that, go down on a Friday night right here in the town. I think starting around 5 or 6 when you have people just playing on the streets and getting together. And it's a great time just walk along and hear people playing music. At the country store, we've got on Fridays, you got at 6:30 is when they start the gospel hour.
Okay.
And then 7:30 is when they start into the regular music. So
Okay.
I think that's when they start charging, but it's all a good time down there.
Yeah.
The other thing I brought up for music that's also on the Crooked Road is Wildwood General Store. It's about 4 miles south of town. And on Saturdays, they do 5 to 7. You've got down-home music that's mostly old time, but they have different band through the summer. They're going to have a different band in every week. And this year is their 25th year.
Wow. I remember when that place got put in.
Yeah, something else, isn't it? And they've expanded it wonderfully. I mean, it's a real gem.
What else we got going on, fellas, coming
Well,
up?
there's a blood drive at Whiskers and Tails, and that's on June 9th from 11:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. All blood donors will receive a $30 e-card of their choice, plus TBC will donate $10 for every donor to the Floyd County Humane Society.
Good deal.
And as we've been doing for several years in the town, you've got the Small Town Summer. That's kicking off.
It's a concert series, isn't it?
It's a concert series. It's a movie series. It's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So you'll have people gathering. It's over in Library Park. It's on Thursday nights, and I think it's on every other Thursday. But we kick off on June 5th at 6 p.m. You've got an opening band, the Wild Shoats,
Okay.
followed by the Nashville Sentimental Gentlemen. But after those bands have played for a while, once it gets good and dark, that's when they put out the inflatable screen, and they're going to play a movie. So it's a family movie night. It's
deal.
Moana 2.
Oh, yeah.
What if you haven't saw the first one?
Yeah, I was going to say, you better go rent that real quick and see if you can catch
Get
up
to
on
watching. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of happy little girls there because I know Mona is super
it. Okay,
popular.
here's a trivia question. Which one of you knows what a shoat is? What's a shoat?
Something you eat?
You could eat a shoat,
Something
yes.
you take?
That depends on other things about you.
Something you give?
You could give a shoat, yeah.
Or don't.
A shoat is a mixture between a sheep and a goat.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You just made that up, didn't you?
No, that's what I found because we at one point had sheep, but we had goats, and that was the problem was that you wanted to be careful to make sure that the male goats were fixed so that you didn't end up with a shoat because apparently nobody wants a shoat.
Wow. It's interesting.
There's this odd mix between the two that apparently aren't good for very much.
Yeah.
At least that not from what I heard. So
Good to know.
Now, I wanted to talk about the Book House. We've talked about that location having events in town. They had a quiet night or an unplugged night, I believe is what it
Oh,
was
that's
called.
right. Yeah, they had the game night thing they're doing.
Yeah, they encourage people to come in, disconnect from the outside world, turn your cell phone off, and come in. But the Book House is turning one. They're having another event on Saturday, June 7th. They're located right here at 132 North Locust Street in Floyd.
Well, you park in the courthouse lot and just walk across the street.
Yeah,
There they are.
absolutely. Join us for our first birthday celebration. We'll have a ribbon cutting, birthday cake, live music, and food with Driftwood Catering food truck outside. It's also the weekend of the Floyd Artisan Trail, so come celebrate with them.
Well, funny you should mention that because I'm looking here at a flyer that I got on the Floyd Artisan Trail. And
Okay.
we've probably seen this over years. I'm sure anybody in the county has seen these things pop up around the county. This is for artisan studios around the county that they have a weekend where they're open for people to come in and visit. And they're all over, so they're spread all over the county. So it's not in one spot. It's not like you can just go into the town and see things. There's some galleries in town, but there's studios out in the county. And what you do is you pick up one of these flyers that will kind of guide you, and you can drive to all these different places and see these studios where people are working on things. And it's going to be a wide variety of stuff. There's people that are doing pottery, some people that are doing mosaics, there's other artwork. Let's see, there's a forge at one place. All kinds of things. So it's something that they do it every year. I've seen these signs out there in the past years, but that's what's coming up. It's on June 7th and 8th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., the Floyd Artisan Trail. You can check it out online or you can drop by in several places and find the guide to where to go to all the different places. I know that the tourism board has some flyers for that you can find that will give you a map on all the different places you can find in town. It looks like it's 13 artisan studios, 8 galleries and shops in town, and 4 farms and or country stores so that have things set open.
Just goes to show you yet again how saturated our county is with an abundance of talent in many areas. I mean, really, we have so many talented people in this county. The fact that our little old county is having an artisan trail and there's 13 different stops where there's going to be 13 different artists displaying their work. I mean, that sounds like something that would be a bus tour in a big city or something.
And those are just the ones that they're telling you about.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
We missing out on anything, or did we hit the library? I know they're doing a reading challenge, I think.
You know, one of the things that's hard to keep up with, there's so much going on down at the library. And to add that to the Floyd Center for the Arts, it's hard to keep up with all. We're going to try to do a better job with that. But I know that the one thing I saw that the library is having a summer reading challenge, and you check in with them. So it's a reading challenge for reading and other activities between May 31st and July 31st. I think if you're a reader, you're going to hit the book house, and then you can hit the library and do that challenge, keep you busy all summer.
I don't know if you'll be able to get anything at the library or not. My wife's grandmother had me pick up some books for her at the library, and should have brought my truck. She brought everything out with her, and they said they've seen an abundance of that, of people that have used to, maybe they've had an account at the library for 20 years and haven't checked anything out. Then all of a sudden now they're coming in and checking out dozens of books a week. So
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if there's maybe within the community there's been an increase in an interest in reading, but I mean it's a great thing nonetheless.
Challenge.
Yeah.
Taxes going up so high they can't afford internet
Yeah.
anymore.
Let's read about
To the
that.
library.
That's right. Get another reassessment.
Oh man, oh me. But I think that that covers it all. Like I said, there was a lot to unpack this week.
Well, you hit summer in Floyd. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we probably only scratched the surface. There's always something out there.
Yeah.
I'm always driving by and seeing a sign that someone's put out in front of a church or something. And if I forget to write it down, I can't remember it by the time we get in here.
Yep. And as always, for anything coming up that we missed or something coming up that you want us to mention, to talk about, send us an email, send us a Facebook message, hit us up on YouTube. We're on all the platforms, Apple Music, Spotify. Check us out. However you choose to listen to your podcast, we'll be there. And we thank you for listening. We really do. Wouldn't be no point in doing it if y'all weren't listening, but y'all are, and we really do. We thank you for it. Again, our production crew.
Oh, fantastic group.
Yeah, we've got the best. Big Country Cockram
Oh,
working
there's
back there
the man.
behind the scenes, getting stuff edited for us. Mr. John Velitis over here, he's been a welcome addition to the team.
Steady hand
Yeah.
at the tiller.
Steady John, and brings I think I could sit and talk to John for hours at a time based off his life experiences. Maybe we'll have him on the podcast one day.
We
There
should.
you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Special interview.
That's right. That's right. But thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody that listens, that helps out, that edits. We couldn't do it without you. But enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and cut y'all loose. Hope y'all have a good rest of your week. We'll be back next week with another episode. Just remind you to take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones.
All right. Y'all take care.
Bye, everybody.